Hey, this is Pops, and yes, I'm a sucker for the micro budget film projects. These small budget things that kind of surprise us with an all star cast. I mean, Mary Stuart Masterson, Diane Ladd, Sam Robards, and Andrew McCarthy kind of headline this film. And it's a heavy, heavy drama about the elderly, where you have a woman who is just very disenfranchised from her entire family, life in general, especially her mother, who's a well known actress, Carmen Crawford, played by Diane Ladd, who's had this terrible, life threatening stroke, wakes up thinking it's 15 years in the past. And it creates basically a chance for them to kind of work out a lot of issues that they've had over the years, issues in relationships and dynamics. It is a very heavy film in that regard, but at the same time, it's a very well executed film in a lot of ways. So let me go right to the trailer because the trailer does kind of set everything up for you in this one little sequence. And I'm not going to play a lot of audio, but this is one I think you need to hear.
Surrender and learn how to be present.
Surrender and learn how to be present. So literally that's the message of this film. It's this woman who has everything figured out. It's this woman that is she is such a control freak, an alpha female that is just snarky and mean. I thought about Tar and Kate Blanchett's character in that film a little bit. It's kind of what she did. She's a professor, but she's also like she's really, really obsessing it, and it comes across in the third act of this failure that she had in her life and her career, missed opportunity. Her mom's kind of like been blamed by her, and that kind of comes to head. But Diane Ladd, I think, is really the star of this film because her performance is really just so good. But she wakes up, she thinks it's 15 years prior. Here's the doctor, and with the brother next to him. This is Sam Robards' character, and they basically are just like, "What do you mean?" She thinks it's 15 years ago. It's 15 years ago. So she thinks that she's still married to her husband. They still think the daughter is actually like 5 years old. She thinks that the husband is actually still alive. And of course, in 15 years, none of those things are true anymore. So, and then it takes a long time. It's like the first hour or so of this film is her even begrudgingly wanting to take care of her mother. She's still trying to pawn the mom off. She's still trying to look for shortcuts. She's trying to the brother is constantly inconvenienced in scenes, and that kind of comes to a big. I mean, that was a little interesting because it was played for some levity in some ways, but at the same time, it was very tragic. What he's a psychiatrist and he has a patient. He's called away because of her selfishness, and that patient could, in theory, delete themselves. So the film is a very heavy-handed film about mental illness and deterioration, and stroke slash Alzheimer's, dementia, all those kinds of things that kind of play out that you can relate to, depending on something you may be going through in your life. It's a lot about those type of things. Here's Andrew McCarthy's character. She basically just pleads with him to come and visit her because she thinks they're still together. It's like, can you just give her one moment of that? The wife is off camera all the time, his current wife, and she's like dropping F bombs, like she just hates the ex, whatever, that kind of thing. But what was interesting was even in this moment of need, she is not humble. She is so nasty to him. She says something like, well, I wouldn't want to be the one that would cause her to have a stroke again. It was such a horrible passive aggressive move that any of us have been around people who do that kind of stuff. It is something you will be able to relate to. So the movie really hits the nail on the head with some of these moments. And I think that's what the movie does well. It captures some moments of things. And I will say it was hard for me to watch um, Andrew McCarthy and Mary Stuart Masterson and Diane Ladd because I've grown up with these people and to look in the mirror, I'm 50 years old, over 50 years old too, and seeing how they have aged and things like that, how they can't. This is her daughter, and there's issues with her as well. So it was just a little tough. It was a little hard to handle that realism of that. But well done in that regard. So there's a plot line with the daughter who wants to go off to Europe and live her life, and then it all comes to a head in the third act. Because what ultimately does happen is mom kind of wakes up out of it all. So in the latter part of the movie, in this final act, she goes home and she's sort of like herself again. She's kind of like her old self. The film does a good job of dealing with some difficult, challenging issues with an aging population, a generation that has been caught up in their careers, caught up in their own destructive relationships and different things that have separated their family, divided families. How do you reconcile those things and deal with your own daughter who's now going to present a new problem and challenge? So this is a film that's filled with a lot of great moments and lines. There's some levity, some good jokes, things like that that kind of does it. Um, I will say that at the end of the movie, there's a line about "I stood by, let your dream die" line from Diane Ladd, and that was brilliant. That was a brilliant line for a parent to say to a kid. Like because I think there is always moments as a parent that we have regret of things that we've done wrong with our kids that we can't undo, and we see it manifest in that way where they abandon their dream maybe because of me. That was a good one. There is a sense of families just saying, well, we're going to figure it out together, kind of thing. So the film is very pro family in that regard, but this is a very heavy film. This is not lighthearted. It's not. I mean, it's got comedic moments, but this is a heavy drama. It's still a serious issue, serious topic, so it's not going to be for everyone. But at the same time, I think when you're going through those moments or something like that, and you need a film, this is one that actually I think you could enjoy. You'll shed a tear maybe at the end because there is kind of a a tearful ending, but it's not overly sappy or anything like that. So it's a very, very solid film. If I had to go to score, probably gonna go 3.5 out of 5. Relatively slow, pretty methodical. There's no real major like Oscar scenes or anything like that. There's a lot of dry moments, especially in that first 45 minutes to an hour. Just there's some scenes that are, and the daughter's not particularly great. I don't know. There's some execution issues and things, but it wasn't terrible, anything like that. So that's kind of where I land on it. Solid movie. May not be your thing, but at the same time, really happy to see a smaller budget project like this finally emerge out of what happened with the pandemic and things like that, that slowed everything, messed up all the schedules. So it's good to see this come to theaters finally. So take care, everybody. Love to hear from you. I am Pops.